You're in your bedroom right now. Door closed. Lights off. Maybe your partner is next to you. Maybe you're alone. Either way, nobody can see you. Nobody can hear you. You are completely, totally invisible to the world. You have never once thought of that as an invention. But that is exactly what it is. Privacy, the kind you are sitting inside right now, is one of the newest creations in the entire history of the human species. Newer than agriculture. Newer than the wheel. Newer than written language. For 290,000 years of human history, this moment was not rare, not difficult to arrange, impossible. And the strangest part? The people who lived every single day without it were not suffering from the absence. We are the ones suffering. So here is the question. What did ancient humans actually do with zero privacy? For daily life? For sleep? For everything that makes us human? The answer is stranger, more sophisticated, and more relevant to your life right now than you are expecting. For the first 290,000 years of human existence, the entire radius of your life was roughly 50 feet. That is not a metaphor. In 1992, anthropologist Robin Dunbar at Oxford University published research synthesizing decades of field observations across forager societies on every inhabited continent. His finding: the average hunter-gatherer band maintained near constant physical proximity, members separated by fewer than 50 feet during most waking hours. 50 feet is roughly the length of a school bus. Inside that school bus, 15 to 50 people were living every moment of their lives. They slept together. They ate from the same fire. They traveled as one unit. There were no walls, no rooms, no assigned spaces, no surface of any kind that separated one person's life from another's. If you argued with your partner, 40 people heard it. If you were sick, 40 people knew before you said a word. If you felt desire, you felt it inside that same 50-foot circle with nowhere to go. And here is the critical detail that changes everything. This was not the condition of the poor or the unlucky. The strongest hunters lived this way. The most respected elders lived this way. The leaders lived this way. No one in the group had privacy. The concept did not exist. What they had instead was something far more sophisticated. They built privacy out of agreement, not out of stone, wood, or mud. Out of a shared decision about what people would and would not acknowledge. In 2014, anthropologist David Samson at the University of Toronto completed a multi-year study of sleep patterns and social behavior among the Hadza people of Tanzania, one of the last remaining hunter-gatherer populations whose way of life most closely resembles pre-agricultural humans. He documented 3 behaviors so consistent across his observations that they appeared to function as unwritten law. The first was timing. When fires burned low and natural light disappeared, the social contract of the group quietly shifted. Darkness was not just cover. It was a shared signal. Everyone understood what the signal meant. Everyone agreed to behave as though they did not. The second behavior was distance. Moving 50 to 100 feet from the sleeping group in near-complete darkness was understood without a single word needing to be said. In total darkness without artificial light, 50 feet is functionally invisible. The Hadza, the Agda of the Philippines, the Ache of Paraguay, Samson's cross-cultural synthesis found the same pattern across every documented forager group he examined. You move. No one follows. That is the rule. The third behavior was the most sophisticated of all. Collective silence. Not the silence of people who don't know. The silence of people who have agreed not to acknowledge what they know. Anthropologist Colin Turnbull, who lived with the Mbuti people of Central Africa for years, documented this in detail. He noted that the Mbuti had no word for privacy. Not because they were unsophisticated, but because the behavior itself required no word. It was simply understood. You do not comment on what you did not see. Timing, distance, collective silence. 3 behaviors. No materials required. This was the architecture of private life for over 290,000 years. And some cultures formalized it into something even more deliberate. Around 10,000 years ago, something changed. Humans began farming. Farming meant staying in one place. Staying meant building. Building meant walls. For the first time in the entire history of the species, you could close a door. You could be in a space no one else could see into. But here is what almost no one says about that moment. It was not a liberation. It was a trade. In 1996, archaeologist Ian Hodder at Cambridge University published a landmark analysis of Çatalhöyük, a 9,000-year-old agricultural settlement in modern Turkey, one of the earliest known examples of permanent human housing. He found that the transition from open communal living to walled domestic spaces correlated with something unexpected. A measurable increase in interpersonal conflict markers. Tool damage consistent with fighting. Skeletal trauma from violence between individuals. The walls gave people separation. They also gave people something to defend. Privacy created the concept of mine. Mine meant someone else could take it, and mine had never existed before. Even after walls appeared, privacy remained a luxury for most of human history. In medieval Europe, entire families shared a single room. Travelers at inns shared beds with strangers. Servants slept at the foot of their masters' beds. Children sharing mattresses with 3 or 4 siblings was not poverty. It was normal life as recently as the 1800s. The private bedroom that you woke up in this morning became a common feature of ordinary life somewhere around 1920. 100 years ago, out of 300,000 years. That is the last 0.03% of human history. And in that 0.03%, something started happening to us that had never happened before. Today, the average adult in the developed world spends more time alone than any human being in the history of our species. We have more physical privacy than any humans who have ever lived. Loneliness is now classified by the World Health Organization as a global public health crisis. People are reporting fewer close friends than at any point in recorded history. Depression, anxiety, and social isolation are climbing in every country that has achieved the kind of privacy ancient humans never had. The walls worked. We got everything we built them for. And we are more disconnected from each other than at any moment in the entire history of our species. Ancient humans never had a door to close. They built connection out of the only material they had, each other. We built walls to protect that connection. And somewhere along the way we forgot what we were protecting. The beauty had no word for privacy because privacy was not something they needed to name. What they needed to name were their relationships. Every person in the group. Every role, every bond. Those were the words their language had hundreds of. We have 100 words for types of rooms. We struggle to name what we feel when we are in them alone. For 290,000 years, humans were never alone. They found ways to be private without ever being isolated. They built intimacy not by separating from the group, but by trusting it. Then we built walls, and we have been trying to find each other through them ever since.